Hey there, I'm Cahlen, and today on The Wizard Life I'm going to be talking to you about how I make breakfast every morning while I'm living in my truck, kind of roaming around the United States living as a nomad. People have been asking me, how am I feeding myself out here? And the key secret to doing this for me is basically compacting the calories into as small space as possible, and making it so those calories come in a form which doesn't need refrigeration, because a refrigerator takes energy and it also takes up space in the truck. So the way I do that is I basically drink butter and I drink coconut oil. So right here, this is my giant jar of ghee. So ghee is kind of like clarified butter, and you make ghee by taking butter and kind of boiling it and then skimming off the stuff that comes to the top, which is the protein and other stuff like that. And the advantages of that are that the ghee doesn't really go bad. So you don't need to refrigerate it, and it stays good for years. And the other advantage is the proteins that people are often allergic to, like casein and stuff like that, it's not really in there anymore, so you're not going to get the reaction. There's all kinds of other benefits to ghee, and as long as it's grass-fed, by the way, and then also all the other things that I'm going to talk about. But I'm not going to go into all of those benefits in this video, but I will leave links in the description if you want to look into that. So the other thing that I use is called caprylic acid, and I use a brand called Brain Octane, sold by the Bulletproof company, and it's basically just kind of like purified coconut oil. So coconut oil has many different types of fats in it, and that's determined by how many carbon atoms are lined up in a chain. And this caprylic acid has 8 carbons in a line. And the advantage of caprylic acid is that it basically puts your body into ketosis like that. So normally, for those of you who don't know what ketosis is when you're running on ketones, which is something that your cells use for energy. So, and it comes from fat. So you eat fat, or you have fat in your body, and your body processes that, and it turns into ketones, and your cells can use that in the same way that they would be using glucose. So if you were to eat rice or carbohydrates or just straight sugar, your body's going to turn that into glucose, and it's going to use that. So you can kind of switch in between using these two different things. The advantages I've found for myself of being in ketosis is that I feel it's like you have a level amount of energy. So back when I was kind of just relying on my energy coming from carbohydrates and sugars, I would burn through that stuff really quickly. So my energy would be really high, and then it would dip and it would go really low, and I'd be like, oh man, I'm not sure that if anything comes up, a situation that I need to be able to think really clearly about and be able to act, I'm not really sure I'm going to be able to pull it off. I don't know if I have the energy reserves. When I'm in ketosis, it's like, I don't even question it. I just feel it in my body. My body's just like, dude, we got so much energy, and this energy is going to last and last and last. And I don't even, like, when I drink this, I don't even eat lunch until like 2 p.m. And that's called, what's that called? Some kind of fasting, intermittent fasting. So there's all kinds of advantages of intermittent fasting as well, and I can leave a link down below about that. So there will be links down below about ketosis and intermittent fasting and the advantages. Okay, so the other ingredient is I just have basically cocoa powder or chocolate powder, and it's not sweetened. And the reason I use this is because for those of you who've heard of bulletproof coffee, which is basically just butter, caprylic acid, and coffee, I can't drink coffee because I'm not actually sure exactly why, but after about a day or two, I just crash and my immune system goes bad, and I tend to get sick, and I just feel horrible. So if I could, I would be drinking bulletproof coffee because I love the taste and I love the way it makes me feel, but I can't. So instead of coffee, I use the chocolate powder. And there's an advantage to the chocolate powder in that coffee takes all this time to prepare, and you have to like filter it and press it and all this stuff. And chocolate powder, I just go whoop, done. So yeah, it's kind of nice, and I like chocolate. So chocolate has all kinds of benefits like polyphenols and stuff like that. It's just not quite to the level of coffee. So let me show you kind of the process of making this. So the first step is I start heating up my water. And so the way I do that is I use this little water heater, which runs on a 12-volt system. So you've probably seen these things. This is the type of plug that plugs into your car, the cigarette lighter slot on your car. And I just plug this in to this battery, which is connected to my solar panel. You hear it beep. Then this 1 gallon, it's for milking cows, but I use it for storing my water. And I just pour it in here. Ooh. All right. Put the lid on. And I push the boil button. And then I go do all the other things. All right, while that water is boiling, I'm going to start putting the ingredients into this thermos. The advantage of a thermos is obviously it's going to stay warm for a long period of time. And since I'm drinking 1,500 calories, that's not something I'm going to down all at once. And so it actually lasts me all the way from in the morning all the way up until I have lunch. And actually sometimes I'm still drinking a little bit after I've had lunch. So what I do is I put 1 tablespoon of chocolate powder, and I use this long tablespoon because I have to use this because when this gets low, I have to be able to scoop all the way down there. I don't really like getting my hand in there. And then I put 1 tablespoon of the chocolate powder, and that seems to be enough. And also it's nice because then I don't have to buy this stuff all the time. It goes a long way. And then I have 6 tablespoons of the caprylic acid and 6 tablespoons of the ghee. So a tablespoon of either of these is roughly about 125 calories. So times 6, I believe that's 1,500 calories by itself. So something I want to mention to you, if you're going to start drinking fat for breakfast in some form, don't start it at 6 tablespoons butter and 6 tablespoons of coconut oil. You're going to get sick. You're not going to feel very good. And when I first started, there's no way I could have done this. I've been drinking this for probably almost 2 years now. And I started, I think, 1 tablespoon of each. And that's what I would say. If you were going to do it, probably start at 1 tablespoon. And if you feel like not so good in your stomach at that point, like ease off on the caprylic acid a little bit. But it doesn't take too long. I'd say a few weeks to start ramping up. I'd say it probably takes longer than that to get up to 1,500 calories though. So I'm just gonna show you, I'm not gonna do the whole process in front of you, it takes kind of a long time, but I'll show you 1 scoop of each thing. Okay, first I put in the single scoop of chocolate powder. It's just a level scoop, and I like to stick the spoon down in there, turn it upside down, and tap it so that it comes out. Then I take the caprylic acid, I put the spoon kind of sitting on top here, and I tilt it just a little bit so if it overflows, it pours into the thermos and not all over the place. So, here we go. And then I just tilt it, and then I do that 5 more times. Then I just take a big scoop of the ghee. It's warm out here. Normally this stuff's pretty solid. It's a little bit starting to liquefy a little bit. And I have to use my thumb to get it out usually. Just drop it in there. And then do that 5 more times. So again, if you're going to have this, I would say you probably want to stop right there and then ease into it. And I don't know, I've never actually heard of anyone having 1,500 calories of this. There's a lot of people who are having this sort of thing for their breakfast. I've never heard of anyone doing quite this much, except maybe Dave Asprey or something like that. And I don't even think he does that anymore. So I just say start low. So the water is reached nearly boiling. I tend not to let it quite get to boiling just because it kind of overflows and the water starts to steam off and I lose the water. I add the water at this point. Then I put the lid on and I leave it for about just a couple minutes to let the butter melt, because the next step is to mix it, and you don't want to do that while the butter is solid. And now the last step is to mix it. And this part is really important because your body has a tough time digesting fat, because in order to get it into the bloodstream, it kind of needs to mix in with the water. And as you know, oil doesn't mix with water. So what it usually does is it creates a compound in various organs, which helps the fat mix with the water. But the thing is, if you're drinking like really like large amounts, that's not normal. The body's not going to be like, oh yeah, we can totally handle that. So what you want to do is you want to break the fat down into tiny, tiny, tiny little droplets to make its job way easier. And so when I lived in a house, I would just use like a real high power blender. But I found that I can do the same with just a milk frother. And this is a cool little thing because I can charge it with a USB cable. So anything that can charge USB can charge this thing. So just take this. I added a little, after the butter melted, I add a little bit of cold water to it just to fill it up to about here, so that when it's done I can actually drink it. And then I just turn it on high, slowly go in there, let it mix for a little bit. So I usually do this for about 30 seconds to a minute. So once it's done mixing, it's good to go, ready to drink. And once I'm done with that, I just put the lid on. And if it's been sitting for a while, the fat can tend to settle on the top. And so what I'll do is I'll pick it up, I'll turn it over once, and then open it. So if I shake it and then open it, especially when the water is still really hot, it tends to go whoosh and spray all over the place, and it makes a pretty messy situation. So just something that I like to think about. I think of the butter and the coconut oil as basically like condensed liquefied energy from the sun, like liquid sun energy. And the coconut oil comes from a tree. A tree is taking the sunlight, it's taking the soil, and it's kind of using water in that process, and it's creating a compound which when you drink it, it gives you the energy to do everything that you do. And it's the same thing for the butter and the ghee. The cow, it drinks the water, it eats the grass, and it absorbs the sunlight in its skin, and it turns all of that into pure energy. So just something to think about, and I definitely recommend this. I think that if you try it out, you'll notice how much better you feel. And so if you want to do the intermittent fasting type thing, this is all that you drink, and you don't eat anything in the morning. Make sure you're not having any protein or any sugars of any kind, just fat, and go all the way until like 1 or 2. And then at that point you can eat up to, a couple hours before bedtime, and then you can just keep repeating that. And again, I'll put links about all the benefits of ketosis, intermittent fasting, ghee, coconut oil, all that stuff in the description below. So thanks for stopping by, and I hope to see you next time.